So and I'm gonna just end this opening tag here. This is just a self-closing tag, so it doesn't have any ending tag. So this ends here. And also now we're gonna work on our CSS file. So in our CSS file we don't have to add any style thing and nothing like that. We can just directly start writing our styling here. I can say this: I want my body to be its background color to be, you know, a powder blue. See, and I can add another thing here like H1 and H2, and I want their margin to be auto, and I want their color size color to be blue, and I want their something like what else, paddings to be auto. Let's save this, and let's save this too, and let's now open it from here, and you can see the things are here. The external changes we have made, they are into our file, and we have just linked them together. So this is the external sheet, and I've told you how to link it and how to work on it. We don't need to add any style thing here. We just start writing our selector and then our properties here. That's it. So also there's a semicolon. Moving on, we have CSS fonts. This is the same as we have learned in HTML. They have the color property, we have used it already. Font family, font size, style. Style is a element to define internal CSS or inline styling. I've told you that this is a tag. We used it for inline and internal CSS, but not for external CSS. That's not necessary for external CSS. Also, this is a little example for that. And we have CSS borders. So this border property defines the border around any element. So if you want your specific element to have like a border line, then you need to add this property in here. So how this property works, just let's see it by working on it. Let's add it here, and I want my do we have a paragraph? We do. So let's add P here, the curly brackets, and then we're gonna write the border property. So first of all, we need to write the size that we want that border to have, 1 pixel, and this px is pixel. That's the, you know, that's a standard size or measuring thing that we use for our digital things. With some space, we're gonna write how we want our border to be. I wrote here that they're going to be several other things. If you see here that border can be of any type. It can be solid or dotted or dashed or thin or things like that. So we can add anything here. If I say we want my border to be solid, and then we're gonna add the color of that border, and let's make it white, and just add this here and save it, save this, and you can see we have this little border here, and that is unique from the other things. Also, we have CSS padding. Now CSS padding is a thing that it's a space between the text that you on your website, the text and between the border, this and this, the text and the border, the space between these is the padding. So let's add this here. How we're gonna add this is in the style. Let's add padding here, and let's say I want it value to be 30 pixel, and let's save it. Save this too, and you can say this is the result. You can see there is space between this text and this border. Also we have another thing here. This is CSS margins, and margin is the space between the wall and the border. So if we add margin here in here, let's remove this and add margin of 50 pixel maybe, and let's save it. And this is the space between your border and here, between the wall and the border. Also we have two more things to learn about today in the CSS lecture, and the first thing is ID. This is very important and very handy when you're working with a lot of stuff. So to define a specific style for one special element, add an ID attribute to that element. So we have different things in our website. We have different paragraphs, we have different headings, we have different images, and if I want something to have a unique modification, I can add a attribute in that element, and then I can call this attribute ID, and I can modify it in my CSS file. So this is how it works. This is the name of the attribute, and this is the value of that attribute, or the name that we are gonna specify for the ID is, it is by default. So we want our ID name to be P01, for example, and then I'm gonna call this P01 in my CSS file, and I'm gonna give it a little color. So also we are gonna work on a little web page today, and I'll show you in more detail that how we will work with IDs and classes. So let's just practice it here for now. If let's add a ID here, ID, and I want its name to be unique, and let's call it here. We're just gonna add unique, with the hash. So how we call IDs and how we call classes. We call our tags just by their names, and we call IDs with the hash, and we're gonna call our classes with the dot, and we're gonna learn it in the next topic. So I have called my ID, and now I'm gonna add any style here I want, and I have added this in my H1. So let's copy this. Okay, let's cut this and add here's the color, maybe to be red. Save it, and let's see why. Oh, have added colon for 2 times, and that's my mistake. Shit. Okay, let's open it again with Sublime Text. Okay, here I'm gonna save this, and what I've done here is unique. Save this, and let's see here, we have a red heading, and we have done this with ID. Also working with classes, there's a thing that the ID element should be unique within a page. You can't like duplicate ID names, or you can't give same names to IDs and classes, because it's a unique selector. Also class, it works the same. We just need to add this class name here, class here, and give it a name, and then we can later on call it on our like on our CSS file. And the way we are going to call this in our file, I'm going to show you now. So let's add a class here. For example, I'm adding a class in my paragraph, and I want my class name to be error. And let's just now call this in our CSS. Save this and call this in our CSS file. So we're gonna call our class here. We have added the class in paragraph, so I'm gonna write P, and I'm gonna write dot, and I'm gonna write the name of my class, and then the brackets obviously, and then I'm gonna give it a color. Let's give it the color of purple. So this is how it actually works. So you can see the font color is now purple. So this is probably the end of the lecture. We haven't talked about teaching you CSS, so I've worked hard on this one. I have added things that you needed to know. So let me know if you have any trouble with anything in the CSS lecture, and I'll see you in the next lecture.